A year from now, if someone says, "Who was Robert Hanna?" not one person in 10,000 will be able to reply. In the unofficial tabulations of the Chicago Crime Commission, Robert Hanna is the 1,000th victim of gangland murder in this area, the records beginning with the shooting up of a small fry character in January of 1919. The list that has been compiled by the Crime Commission is historically of interest, though, for only one reason. It serves as a guide to the popularity of the rackets during the past 38 years. In the beginning, it was vice, control of prostitution, with emphasis on the red light district that centered in the area of 22nd and Wabash. This attracted such triggermen as Scarface Al Capone, who found employment as bodyguard for a vice lord whose name was Big Jim Colosimo. Colosimo eventually was gunned down, but by this time the emphasis had shifted to alcohol cooking and the peddling of bootleg beer. The Taylor and Halsted area out on the west side, now dominated by the Chicago Circle campus, was an historic battleground in the formative years of organized crime. The acrid odor of alcohol cooking permeated the place. The sound of gunfire was commonplace. The neighborhood shook frequently when this fellow's place was bombed or that fellow's place was bombed. The era of the gangs emerged from this: Capone, Moran, the terrible Toohey gang, and forgotten hoodlums like Joe Saltus. There was big money to be made, and the men were willing to kill or get killed in their greed to make it. This was likewise the period, the 1920s, when homicidal struggles began to assert themselves in battles for control of unions and the beginning of a murderous fight for control of racetrack information, a fight that terminated in 1946 with the murder of a man whose name was James Reagan. Reagan was sort of a good guy who resisted the crime syndicate's effort, successful effort, we might say, to take over the lucrative business of disseminating horse race information from the tracks to the bookie joints here and elsewhere. Somewhere between the blood that flowed in the red light district and the assassinations that punctuated the power struggle for control of organized gambling, narcotics became and remains a big thing. Indeed, a narcotics racket involvement is blamed for the murder of Robert Hanna, who is number 1,000. Sprinkle in a few political scandals and murders, the graduation of syndicate bosses into quasi-legitimate business enterprises, introduce big-deal defense attorneys, and the latter-day yearning for respectability of the elderly gangsters, and there it is, a quick picture of violent times, and I am Lon O'Connor.
Don't let anything stop you from discovering the softness of Aurora. 2 layers of softness. 1 layer of pretty pastel, the other purest white. Soft to the touch, softly scented too. The whole point is, Aurora is too soft for words.
There, Gala's pretty borders are gone. But they aren't the only thing you buy a paper towel for anyway. You want a hard-working 2-layer towel that soaks up spills and stays strong, even when it's wet. The borders, they're just for fun. The important thing is, border to border, Gala's the hardest working paper towel you can buy. And that's the real beauty of it.
The University of Illinois will appeal yesterday's Big Ten ruling that it fire its head football and basketball coaches and an assistant basketball coach for giving unauthorized aid to athletes. The university claims that the punishment is simply too harsh. University President Dr. David Henry commented for NBC reporter Jay Newbern.
We're simply looking at the cases, the human element involved, the fact that these coaches have been put on probation in mid-career is a very serious penalty, and we don't believe that we believe we ought to be allowed to solve our own problem from here on out and make our own evaluation, having recognized the problem.
Tonight, the entire 82-man football squad at the University of Illinois signed a petition supporting Coach Pete Elliott. It will be presented to Dr. Henry tomorrow, asking him to retain Elliott as the coach. There is a report that another petition is being circulated by the alumni of the University of Illinois, calling for the university to pull out of the Big Ten if it refuses to ease up on the penalty that was ordered yesterday. In college basketball tonight, Tulsa beat Bradley 65-62. Denver leads Marquette 51-28 at the half. Providence leads Rhode Island 51-32 at the half. Notre Dame beat New York University 79-66. Houston beat West Texas 120-76. Just one game in professional basketball. Boston beat New York 122-117. And that, incidentally, was the Celtics' 17th straight win over the Knicks. They haven't lost to the Knicks since March of 1965. In hockey, Montreal and Boston played a 2-2 tie. Toronto beat Detroit 4-2. The Blackhawks are idle. Baseball slugger Hank Aaron signed his 1967 and 1968 contracts today with the Atlanta Braves. Aaron will get $100,000 for each year, and that is a record for the Braves. In Lawrence, Kansas tonight, sophomore James Ryan set a new indoor record for the half-mile run, 1 minute 48 3/10 seconds. And this chopped 7/10 of a second off the mark set just last Saturday by Tom Van Ruden. Prices closed mixed on Wall Street today. The Dow Jones Industrials gained 2 2/3 points. Rails were up a fraction. Utilities lost. The value of an average share of common stock rose 6 cents. Recap of the news and weather after this.
There goes a flavor grabber. There's another flavor grabber. When you grab hold of an L&M, you grab hold of flavor. Good round flavor that's never sharp, never flat. When you grab hold of an L&M, you grab hold of flavor. Good round flavor through the white filter. Good round flavor you just can't get in any other cigarette. Grab hold of an L&M. Be a flavor grabber.
There's one thing I meant to bring out in the previous talking about all the rushing up air tonight earlier was so intense. It was like a intense spring thunderstorm. And we did have lightning and thunder. At least 250 people have called it. I observed that myself when I was out there. And this oftentimes takes place in winter snowstorms. But it had all the characteristics of like a white tornado that went through here. Sunny, windy, and cold for Friday is forecast now. The flurries tonight will taper off, but the serious blowing and drifting will continue throughout much of the night, with lows about 5 to 10 below tonight and 10 to 20 below tomorrow night, and you see the highs there for the day, only 10 to 15 tomorrow. Floyd?
Summarizing the news, emergency travel only ordered for Chicago's expressways tonight. Cars stalled, must be moved, or they will be towed away, and the CTA hopes to have normal operations in the morning. Cook County Hospital is back to normal. The threatened nurses' strike scheduled for Saturday has been called off. 50,000 Allied troops taking part in a new drive against the communists 75 miles from Saigon. And the committee investigating Adam Clayton Powell has recommended that Powell be seated but censured. Finally, a man in East Providence, Rhode Island, called the police recently with a complaint. Someone stole his 3-car garage. That's the news. Johnny Carson is next.
Brotherhood is for everyone. Practice it every day, all year. Maximilian Schell, Buddy DeFranco, and Hank Bradford visit with Johnny Carson in color next on Channel 5. The NBC News Night Report is a presentation of NBC News, the world's largest broadcast news organization.
Produced for WMAQ TV by NBC News Chicago, which is solely responsible for its content.